Hello everybody, and welcome back to 4FS Gaming. This is Doc, and in today's Battlefront 2 analysis, we are going to go over the Sith Trooper, the infiltrator for the First Order. This is going to be a little bit biased, considering that they are one of my favorite units in the game, due to their hyper-aggressive weapon and abilities, and they also have one of the best reinforcement and hero-killing tools in the game. They can be surprisingly hard to kill with a combination of a health regen on kill ability and a star card that heals you for each enemy you eliminate while using your reveal enemy ability at the same time. But without further ado, let's jump straight into their stats. Starting off with health and other general statistics. He starts with 350 health, which is pretty standard for infiltrators with the exception of the Ewok Hunter of the Rebel Alliance. The Sith Trooper regenerates 40 health per second after a 6-second delay, and even though there is no star card that can improve this value, he does have an ability that effectively replaces and improves upon the star card that the Enforcers have access to. The Sith Trooper's movement speed is the same, if not slightly faster than normal units, but again, there is an ability that swings the advantage of speed thoroughly into the Sith Trooper's favor. You also have the standard 2 dodge rolls that provide a 20% damage reduction for the entire animation. However, with a certain star card, this number can be increased to up to 3 rolls with slightly shorter cooldowns as a bonus. Combined with another star card I'll bring up in a paragraph or two, the extra rolls can actually help you get your abilities to cool down faster while taking a little less damage in the process. But let's stay focused on the general stats for now. Your melee damage is slightly higher at 65, but more importantly, your melee speed is almost twice as fast as a normal trooper, so you'll be dealing a lot of damage if an enemy gets stuck close to you. You can also perform a lunging kick attack that has some pretty good range if you press the melee button while sprinting. But as I have said in previous videos, melee isn't a great option considering what your primary weapon already does in terms of close range damage. Bottom line, blaster bolts are better than punches and kicks. Moving swiftly forward to his primary weapon, the Sith Trooper wields the ST-W48 blaster rifle. Now, considering how much of a mouthful that is, we're just going to call it the 48 for this video. The 48 is a close-range, rapid-fire blaster rifle that excels in close-range combat, and this becomes immediately apparent when we check out its rate of fire. It is a blistering 620 rounds per minute, one of the higher values in the game compared to most normal weapons. It can also fire for a good amount of time, giving you 39 shots to use before overheating, and the cooling cycle is only a second long, so there's very little downtime between coolings. Its damage, however, is nothing special. At most, you'll be dealing 24 damage to the body, or about 46 damage to the head. But that lower damage combined with the high rate of fire means the DPS is excellent, coming in at 248, or 471 for constant headshots. But there is a downside to having this much damage output at close range, and that is that your long-range damage falls off pretty fast and pretty poorly as well. The max damage will only be maintained until 15 meters. After that, the damage will start to fall off. This fall off will finally end 35 meters away, and by then you are dealing exactly half the damage you would be at 15 meters and closer. 12 damage to the body, and about 23 damage to the head. So your long-range DPS drops down to 124, and for headshots it drops to about 236 at best. I say at best because even though there is pretty much zero recoil while firing, the 48 has significant amounts of bolt spread, so shooting at full auto at long range will become very inaccurate very quickly. Thankfully, you have an alt-fire that takes care of your lacking long-range damage output and consistency. The Quarrel Blast is an alt-fire explosive projectile that the 48 can fire. It takes under a second to charge and fire, travels fast, and has some light homing properties at longer ranges to help land that damage. And that damage? 140 on a direct hit or very near misses, and it'll still deal a very small amount of splash damage to its surroundings. But the blast range is just large enough to go through shields if the enemy is standing near the shield wall, and it will completely ignore specialists' personal shields, and I find that quite amusing. Now it's time we start to have a look at my favorite part of the Sith Trooper, his abilities, and what they bring to the table. Let's start with the most destructive. His left ability, the Oppression Grenade, is one of my favorite abilities, quite frankly, in the entire game, because it is the premium reinforcement and hero on-the-spot rebalancing tool. What do I mean? Well, let's just start simply, with its damage. It deals 130 max damage. That's actually nothing really special. Well, it also has a ridiculously short fuse, so much so that it's practically an impact grenade. Its max damage is also dealt within 4 meters of the 5 meter total explosive radius, so if any enemy is caught within the blast radius, chances are they're probably going to take max damage a lot more often than other grenades. It also has a really fast cooldown for a grenade of 15 seconds on its own, making this a very spammable tool in your arsenal. But now for the main event. This grenade comes with an extra side effect. For anyone caught within the blast radius, they cannot regenerate any health for 8 seconds. At all. No ability or health on elimination or damage or passive regen, nothing will heal them for an entire 8 seconds. Remember that the grenade itself has a cooldown of 15 seconds. That means if you're engaging a hero or reinforcement and they don't get blasted into the Shadow Realm the first time around, they'll only have 7 seconds of potential healing before another grenade can be thrown at them. But this time can be reduced even further if you use the Sith Trooper to tank damage while having a certain star card equipped. The Desperation star card reduces the cooldown of the Oppression Grenade by 2 seconds for every hit you take. This means after taking just a couple of hits, the time between grenades can be short enough that you can, with good throwing and timing, consistently keep a reinforcement or, importantly, a hero completely unable to heal. And of course, the 130 damage from the explosion also helps them along in their trip to the spawn screen. To sum it up, the grenade is really useful for its damage and short fuse, but it's also one of the best anti-hero tools an infiltrator has access to, so use it often. Alright, so after hyping up the Oppression Grenade as much as I did, let's calm down with a simpler ability. His middle ability, Seeker Tactics, is a spin on other reveal nearby enemy abilities. When you activate it, it will reveal the 4 closest enemies to you. It doesn't matter how actually far away they are in terms of distance, it only matters that they are the 4 closest enemies to you. Every enemy you defeat will increase the amount of other enemies revealed. If you eliminate enough enemies, you'll reach a point where up to 12 enemies are revealed to you, across the entire map. Because as far as I could tell in testing, there is no range limit, since it just matters how close the enemies are to you compared to other enemies, not the actual distance they are away from you. What really sells this ability is that if you equip the Stalker star card, every enemy you defeat will regen up to 55 health, a very nice added bonus for an already useful ability. It also lasts for a good amount of time at 15 seconds, which means that all enemies become a health pack to you for those 15 seconds, and an incredible cooldown of 8 seconds. And, again, that Desperation star card I mentioned earlier, the cooldown goes down by 1 second per hit you take. Now it's time for his final ability, Combat Rush. This ability has quite a few mechanics to it, and all of them are useful to the Trooper. The most immediate thing that you will notice once you activate the ability is that your sprint speed goes up massively. Through some comparisons, you are about as fast as a rolling droideka, and that is fast. On top of that, for every enemy you free from their existence, you will regen 120 health over 3 seconds, and it will even regen through taking damage. And for every elimination, you also gain 3 extra seconds of active time for the ability. This means more speed and bonus health regen for longer. Are there any real downsides to this ability though? Well, the active time is kind of short at 12 seconds, but just coerce some enemies into the afterlife by force and you'll get more time on that. And the cooldown could be better at 22 seconds, but again, just run Desperation and every hit you take, 3 seconds will be cut from the cooldown. And just heal back any damage you take with Seeker Tactics combined with the Stalker card, and then activate Combat Rush once it's back off of cooldown and start the whole process over again. Now, from what I have covered so far, I hope that it has become clear to you why the Sith Trooper is one of the best reinforcements out there. Every part of his kit meshes really well together, and each ability and the primary weapon complement each other to give him a very effective role on the battlefront. So what things should you do while playing as the Sith Trooper? Get in close and brawl with the enemy. All of your attributes, weapons, abilities, star cards, they all give you an advantage to carve through teams while gaining back a not insignificant amount of health from your abilities and star cards, giving you the tools to play well and rewarding you for playing well. While you can't take on most heroes by yourself without some outstanding play, you are the top tier unit when it comes to rebalancing heroes in the field, and making it into a very unfair fight for the enemy. Making it so enemies can't heal at all for 8 seconds is huge for clearing out groups supported by officers or heroes with healing abilities, and then dealing with those heroes themselves. I cannot stress enough how important the oppression mechanic is for your team, so use it often and use it well. And just a bit of advice. Please do not try to go for melee engagements. Even though your melee damage and your melee speed is better, you will not win against the Resistance Infiltrator. Their melee may not be great, but it is definitely better than yours. But then again, you destroy them in terms of raw damage output from the primary weapon, so get close enough to deal max damage with the 48, but far enough away to prevent a melee strike. This also goes when dealing with lightsaber heroes. Stay away from them. Use your oppression grenade. Make it so that way your team can take them out easier and shoot them while they're dealing with other problems. Don't try and punch someone who's wielding a lightsaber. It will not go well. I know this from experience. And with all of that covered, abilities, weapons, tactics, general stats, that is going to bring this video analysis to a close. Now, I did read the comments from the Flame Trooper video I did, and judging from the requests, we're going to have a bit of an infiltrator analysis marathon on our hands. And that's great, because I actually love most of the infiltrators, and a lot of them are my favorite units to use, for the most part. They're all pretty unique from each other while having some similarities to keep them in the same class. But, regardless, I do appreciate all of the comments and feedback, so be sure to keep it coming and let us know what you want to cover next. And if you feel so inclined, subscribe so that way you don't miss the next Battlefront 2 analysis. This is Doc from 4FS Gaming. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope that you all stay safe out there on the Battlefront.